Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. And if you're new here, my name is Sophia. I'm an author, I'm a writer, I'm a blogger. And on this channel, I talk about relationships, I talk about faith, I talk about lifestyle. And sometimes I just do reaction videos to trending topics in society on social media. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so that whenever I upload new content, you'll be the first to know. Yeah, I'll be doing another reaction video. I think I've been doing reaction videos a lot these days. Well, that's because when you get online, there are a lot of things you see, and there are a lot of things that you feel you need to react to, you need to talk about. You just need to give your opinion on these things. So yeah, I think I've been doing a lot of reaction videos lately, and I think I'm enjoying it. I came across this video on someone's status, and after watching the video, the first word that popped into my head was toxic. Like, what is this? But then, this is the reality of a lot of people. Very quickly, let me just share this video with you.
Hello, Paul. I want to talk to you. I want to tell you say this relationship no fit continue again. What do you mean by wetin be the problem? The problem be say nothing be the problem because I no fit date boy wey no get problem at all. You know they cheat on me. I never catch you with girl before. You know they drink. You know they smoke. Shoo. You know if they lie. You not get daddy or mommy issues. No, we not fit. That's the main reason. The problem is no problem. I need to date somebody who get problem at least once a week or twice a week.
The problem is that there is no problem. Oh, wow. Like I said, the first thing that popped into my head when I watched this video was toxic. But then again, we need to understand that some people are so used to having problems that they don't know what to do when they finally find peace. Yeah. They don't know how to not be without problems because all their lives or all the relationships they've been in, there's always been one problem or the other. So they are so used to women being a particular way. They are so used to men being a particular way. They've been in and out of maybe 4, 5, 6 relationships, and they can pick similar traits in all of these partners, and then they come to a conclusion that all the girls named Teresa, they are all problematic, or they come to a conclusion that men are scum, all men cheat, all men lie, all men are unfaithful, all women like money, all those kinds of things. Just because of the repeated experience they've had, they just develop this mindset that this is how things are. And even when they find themselves in an unfamiliar environment where those negative things are not present, they don't know how to be themselves without being insecure. They don't know how to be without fear. They don't know how to be without anxiety or worry. They are so used to their problems. I heard this joke when I was very young, about a Nigerian. I think he was supposed to be deported, and then suddenly he ran into the airport. He got lost in the crowd, and then the immigration officers were trying to fish him out from everybody else. And then one person who happened to be a Nigerian immigration officer, he said, "Okay, I know what to do." And then he went to the power supply of the airport and told them to turn everything off, and then the whole airport was dark. And after some minutes, they turned the light back on, and somebody shouted from the crowd, "Up NEPA!" And the immigration officer said, that's the man we're looking for." It just goes to show, how we have been programmed or conditioned by our environment, or by the circumstances surrounding our growth, our backgrounds, the kind of experiences we've had. Problems have been your normal. You wake up every day, you see these problems, you live with these problems, you eat with these problems, you sleep with these problems. You are so used to these things. It's just like maybe a lady is having insecurity, and it's as a result of maybe she comes from a broken home, all her experiences with relationships, the men have been unfaithful. It just like the Bible says, thoughts, they form strongholds in our lives. We begin to think that all of life is just like this. We begin to see life from a particular perspective. We refuse to believe any other thing. This is really some people's reality. In fact, not just some people. We have a trait of this in everybody. It's because we've repeatedly been exposed to certain things. We found ourselves in an environment where there are a lot of unfaithful people, ingenuine people, and we just kind of believe these things because we've seen them happen over and over and over. Some people don't know how to be without problems because they are so used to problems. It is the truth. Some of us are like that. Some people, they are so used to. I remember, I think the first time I got to Kaduna, I noticed that, they had better power supply. Yeah, for like 3 days straight, there was no power failure, and I began to feel like, why is this happening? Because we are so used to having power failure, where I'm coming from. We're so used to, 2 hours. Even, if we find ourselves, as Nigerians, you find yourself somewhere where there's constant power supply, you begin to feel funny. You begin to feel awkward. In fact, you begin to worry. I remember one time, the power supply company, they just decided to be really nice. And then for some days, they did not, there was no power failure at all. We began to worry in my house. We're like, this one, they are giving us power supply for like 2 days straight. That means something bad is about to happen. That means for the next 1 week, there will be no power supply. And as trivial as these things are the problems because we've been exposed over time, to these things. They have become our normal. So when we are seeing something happening which is supposed to be good, which is supposed to be celebrated, we don't even know how to react to it. Yeah, we don't know how to accept this new normal, So I need to make us understand that really this is how we are. And, this is the reality of so many people, even in relationships. They don't know how to accept something good because they've been exposed over and over to, unpleasant experiences, unpleasant partners, and, just generally unpleasant experiences in their past. We need to note is that it is very unrealistic to not expect arguments, quarrels, tough discussions, pettiness, and just general fights. It is very unrealistic to not expect these things in our relationships. You see, when we argue, it's not because the devil is around the corner. Okay, that's not the reason why we are arguing. No, it's our argument that can call the devil. It's not like the devil incites the arguments. We're having those arguments because we are seeing things from 2 different perspectives. We are having different perceptions about the same issue. All right, we are responding differently to some challenges. We are just being different. Yes, that's the reason why we argue. That's the reason why we, don't see things the same way. It's because we are different people. And when we are arguing, it's just because we are trying to make the other person see your perspective, perceive things the way you are perceiving it. And they are holding on to their own beliefs. That's the cause of the argument. Okay. So, and it is normal. It is normal to have these issues, in our relationships. There is no single relationship that is perfect, that is void of arguments or void of issues from time to time. There is no such relationship. Like one time I had this issue with my partner and I did not expect to behave the way I behaved. I didn't expect to handle things the way I handled them. I didn't expect him to also handle things the way he handled them. It was like, oh my God, what is this? And I began to beat myself up like, oh my God, why did I do this? Why did I say this? Why did I say that? And I began to question myself like, is this even a great marriage? I began to question myself like, is this even a great relationship? But then who says it is not a great marriage? I began to also ask myself that, okay, what is a great marriage? If this is not a great marriage, what is? And then we begin to form that idea, that warped mentality that, a great marriage is one where there are no arguments. A great relationship is one when there are no fights. There is no such relationship. Every relationship will experience, arguments, issues once in a while, just because you are both responding to things differently. And you are doing things differently because the fundamental truth is that you are different people. You won't always see things the same, but when you see things differently, simply, it's now left for, both of you to sit down and talk about it and say, okay, this is how you see this thing, this is how I see this thing, what can we do about it? Okay, this is my view, share my view with you, you share your view with me. But to say there will not be arguments at all, it's very unrealistic, and it's very, very untrue. In healthy relationships, healthy marriages, they experience arguments, seasons of arguments, or issues once in a while. All right, I think the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationships, is in a few differences, or a few things, and I think one of them is how often you argue. How often do you argue? So we're not talking about, oh, you are arguing. Yes, you will argue. It's normal that you will argue. All right. Like we said, you can't see things the same way. But then the difference between an unhealthy relationship and a healthy relationship is not the fact that you argue. You have to pay attention to, one, how often do you argue? Is it every day? Is it every 2 days? Is it every week? If you are arguing too often, then there's a problem. Then you need to, back up and say, okay, what am I doing wrong? What is my partner doing? What are we doing wrong? You have to pay attention, when you are differentiating a healthy relationship, a great relationship, from a not so great relationship. How often do we argue? Another thing you want to pay attention to is, what do we argue about? Okay, are they the soap should not be here, the toothpaste should be this way, the curtains, the blinds should be this way. What are you arguing about? You have to pay attention to that. Or are they really pressing matters of, okay, I don't like okra soup, I don't. Pay attention to what you are arguing about. Yeah, we're trying to differentiate between healthy and unhealthy relationships. Okay. Another thing you want to pay attention to is how you argue, right? How you argue. We can argue, sometimes you argue calmly, sometimes you're shouting at the top of your voice at each other. Pay attention to how you argue. Now, it's not every time we're going to argue calmly, and it's not every time we're going to argue, at the top of our voices, screaming at each other, but we need to pay attention to how we are arguing. All right. We also need to pay attention to the result, which is very, very important. After the whole argument, what are the results? What's the outcome of this argument? Is it that, okay, we're not speaking to each other, or is it that, okay, we've somebody has a bruised eye and a broken lip? What is the result of the argument? What did the argument result into? You need to pay attention to the outcome of those arguments. All right. So I believe these are some of the things we can look at, when we are trying to differentiate, okay, this is a great relationship, this is a healthy relationship, this is a toxic relationship. It's not really about whether or not we are arguing. It's about these factors: how we argue, how often we argue, what we argue about, and then the results after our argument. Now, as much as yes, it is not abnormal to argue, it doesn't mean that we should go around looking for trouble. We shouldn't go around trying to incite arguments, trying to start fights, trying to initiate conflicts. No. I've watched movies, like maybe 1 or 2 movies, where this woman, a woman is so insecure about her husband. She has this feeling that my husband is cheating on me, I've just not caught him yet. And then she decides to set up her husband with a lady she hired, just to see if he will fall for the temptation. And the man falls for the temptation, and then her home is in wreck. She loses her husband, she loses her family, just because of insecurity, just because she was doubting his faithfulness. So let's not say, okay, because arguments are normal, because issues are normal, we go around looking for, to create issues where ideally there should be no issues. We shouldn't do that, okay? Because some people will go to the market personally, use their own money, buy problems, come home, cook wahala, and serve the entire family. Serve the entire family disaster on their plates. We shouldn't do that. As much as arguments are healthy, we should not look to, cause these arguments, to initiate problems in our homes. We shouldn't do that. All right. Now, as much as we don't also want to incite arguments, we should not shy away from tough conversations. Let's not be people that say, okay, you just, when you ask a question, the person is angry, say, okay, let's not talk about it.